Nine Flames Sovereign Chapter 7, Burst Chrysanthemum One Finger. Oh, now Han Feng is in trouble. Although Cuba is useless, he is cultivated for 3 years. Han Feng has only cultivated his inner strength for 1 night. I am afraid it will add a stain to his life. Hey, even if Han Feng is stronger than us in the future, there is this stain, we don't have to be afraid of him. That's right. Yes. It's a pity, it's a pity. Han Lin also noticed at this time and touched his chin. This Cuban's brain is not stupid. He didn't directly challenge him. Instead, he chose to compete. It's normal to miss a hand during the contest. After all, I went straight up to provoke. Even if I teach Han Feng, I will not let him go. The senior family knows that the Cuban father and son will not be better. And Cuba also knows to dig a trap for Han Feng. Now Han Feng is afraid that he will be in a dilemma. If he accepts it, he will be taught a lesson. If his character is destroyed, even if he has high qualifications, his future achievements will be limited. If you don't pick it up, if you stumble in secret by those servants, your life will not be better in the future. As Han Lin and Han Feng thought, Cuba had exactly this plan. Han Feng was worried, but after practicing for a whole night, he produced too little internal energy. How to win? If Cuba's total internal energy at the moment is only 20 or 30, then Han Feng is at most 2 or 3. This is the internal energy that Han Feng once cultivated to expand the meridians. Otherwise, it would be impossible to cultivate even a single internal energy in just 1 night. Han Lin, as a 5th class qualification, didn't it take 2 months to cultivate to the state of Cuba at this moment? On average, he only had half of his internal energy per day, or even less than half of his internal energy. It seems that we can only use some special means. A weird smile flashed across Han Feng's face. This smile was seen by Cuba. I don't know what happened, and my heart suddenly shook. How could it be possible to throw out this idea soon? At this time, Cuba heard the faint voice of Han Feng, I agree. Almost all the teenagers around turned their attention to Cuba and Han Feng. Hearing Han Feng's agreement, they were all excited and inexplicable, waiting for Han Feng to be beaten by Cuba. Cuba laughed wildly, but with a silly smile on his face. Han Feng, you are such a genius, but you have to be merciful. Without waiting for Yi Han to reply, Cuba took the lead. He was despicable and shameless. The Han boy who dared to see next to him could not help but despise Cuba. But Han Feng and everyone understand it differently. Although Han Feng was only an ordinary person in his previous life, he has been in society for a year or 2. Fairness doesn't exist at the beginning, especially in another world, where the battle is only to win or lose. As long as you win, as long as you live. I have to give a few reminders before the test, it is not necessary at all. So, the group of teenagers in the Han family are really naive. Han Feng had long been awakened and had been vigilant against Cuba. So when he shot in Cuba, Han Feng didn't panic at all. He only saw Han Feng's footsteps turn slightly, waving his arms, and directly blocking Cuba's punch. What? No sneak attack. Cuba didn't succeed, and he was taken aback. Although Cuba is a bit more insidious, it is only a mere 13-year-old boy with a weak combat consciousness, which is completely incomparable with Instructor Lin and others. This stunned situation gave Han Feng a chance. Han Feng swept his lower leg directly. Cuba lost his balance when his leg hurts, and he planted on the ground, which made Cuba immediately recover. As soon as he put his hands on the ground, he had to jump back with his hands. However, Yi Han had already launched 9 rounds of boxing and hit Cuba in an unstoppable bombardment, knocking Cuba out directly, and fell to the ground embarrassedly. The teenagers all around were stunned. This Cuba is too useless. Han Feng has just cultivated his internal energy. No, it's not that Cuba is too useless, but that Han Feng's fighting consciousness is stronger than Cuba. Cuba is the weakest among us. On weekdays, almost no one will team up with him to fight each other. Everything is fake. If you make a move, Han Feng will never have a chance to take advantage of. At best, he will suffer both losses, not as it is now. Cuba was careless before, and the internal strength was almost useless, and then Han Feng will be dangerous. A few Han juveniles with extraordinary eyesight commented. Han Lin's eyes flashed, although Cuba is useless, but 3 years of internal strength training, the physical body is extraordinary. The previous Han Feng's basic long punch only used a small part of the internal strength, which could not cause much harm to Cuba. As Han Lin said, Cuba quickly stood up, a trace of anger flashed on his face, and quickly pressed down. This is just a test. He can miss, but if he looks angry, it is deliberate. Can't hide it. Cuba resisted the disgust of Han Feng, and put on an ugly smile, as expected of a genius with 4th-class qualifications. I have only cultivated my inner strength for 1 day, and I will be at a disadvantage, then. The words were not finished. Cuba made another quick move, and still attacked. Han Feng retreated abruptly, sneered in his heart, I was not fooled the first time. How could I be fooled the second time? Unfortunately, I don't have enough internal energy in my body. If I want to hurt Cuba, I can only use claw condensation, and only once. Opportunity, otherwise there is no internal strength, and the power of claw condensation won't be able to show even 1/10. But I have only practiced claw condensation for a day, and I can only use it without error. Reading www. Ukanshu.com wants to cause the damage of claw condensation. It takes a period of preparation time. Cuba can't let me have this opportunity. It looks like it can only be as trivial as I thought before. Cuba learned the lessons from the past, and he didn't dare to care about Han Feng, and his internal energy kept surging, punching and even kicking in succession. Basic Changquan and basic leg skills are inferior basic martial arts, which can be called the basics of the basics, but under the blessing of internal strength, the power is still good, and every time a punch or even a leg is thrown, there will be a buzzing sound. Under such an attack, Han Feng had to dodge in embarrassment, and he didn't even dare to resist directly. Once directly contacted, the internal strength of Cuba erupted, and Han Feng would definitely suffer serious injuries. Gradually, Cuba's offensive slowed down. After all, Cuba's total internal energy was not much. However, even so, Cuba only took a few breaths, while Yi Han was sweating profusely and his clothes were damaged, embarrassed. Cuba finally couldn't help but roar, Han Feng, do you have the courage? Don't hide if you have the ability. Han Feng smiled weirdly, the opportunity is here. I won't hide again next time. Abruptly, Han Feng attacked Cuba, and Cuba grinned in his heart, even if I don't have much internal energy remaining in my body, I will not be afraid of you. But just when Cuba was about to punch and resist Han Feng moved his feet, his internal strength exploded, his speed soared, and he turned directly behind Cuba. Just listen to Han Feng's burst of shout, Baoju a finger? The first update today has been updated, please collect and recommend.